who better than me?
Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy Base the Kid. As always, like and subscribe, click the notifications so that you get updated every time the videos come out. Few tasty things to talk about today, so without further ado, let's get into it. So first thing I want to talk about is over the last week we've had 4 interviews from Tyson Fury, Frank Warren and Bob Arum, all on IFL TV, and then there was one on the Queensbury Promotions YouTube channel. The funny thing about all 4 of those interviews is they all told a different story of the events that led up to why the Dillian Whyte fight is happening next. But rather than get into that specifically, I want to talk about the perceived silence from Dillian Whyte. So in the Bob Arum interview, he said that Dillian Whyte's team said they wanted more money for the contract that Arum tried to present, which was a promotional contract as opposed to the standard WBC terms that you get after a purse bid. And within that, obviously it had media obligations and other things of that nature. And the team's like, well, if you want us to do this, we want more money because we're not legally obliged to do so. So on one hand, you've got Bob Arum saying, well, we're not going to give you any more money, so fine, just sign the regular terms. But then on the other hand, you've got Frank Warren saying, well, if you play ball, we'll be happy to give you some potential money on the back end of the promotion. So clearly, based on those two there, Frank knows that this fight is in trouble in terms of the money it's about to lose. Because the only way that fight makes any money is if both guys act a whole fool before the event takes place, and they are literally any and everywhere to promote it. Now Dillian at this point in time, as I said in previous videos, he's fighting from a position of power right about now, because he has no vested interest at all in what happens with this promotion, whether it flops or whether it does 1.52 million buys globally. At this point, it makes no difference to him because his contract is still only for, I can't even say 20%, technically it's 15%, yeah? Because WBC have taken 10% of the purse bid, which leaves 90% left. So at this current standing, Dillian's on 15%, as I said before, and Tyson Fury is on 75. And whomever wins, well, if Dillian wins, then it becomes 75-25 as in splits. If Tyson Fury wins, it becomes 85-15. So at this point, there's absolutely no need for him to do anything. And they realize now that they're in trouble. As much as they're now parading saying, oh, well, Tyson Fury can do it all on his own, he's the greatest showman out there. They don't believe that. That's why they're both speaking from 2 different hymn sheets. I mean, Bob, the one good thing I like about Bob, yeah, as old as he is, similar to Barry Hearn, he ain't got time to think of the lies. So yeah, he'll lie about big things, but the little small details he don't think are big, he just lets them out. But in doing that, he's also revealing a lot as well. So he's revealing the fact they tried to send Dillian a contract that wasn't the standard terms contract for the fight. And when he said, well, I want more money to do this extra work, they reverted back to the original contract which they were supposed to send in the first place. You've got Frank on the other hand saying, well, we'll be prepared to offer you some back end money if you help promote this thing, But I think Frank already knows that it's not got, even if it breaks even, it probably won't make a profit. So therefore, realistically, Dillian would have helped promote to make sure they didn't lose money, but he's not going to make anything anyway. It's all very clever. And if we also talk about the fact again, they can't promote anything without talking about Eddie Hearn. Now look, I admit, Eddie talks about them as well. So this ain't a one-way street. The difference is though, especially in the Queensbury interview and the Umar interviews, but like everyone knows Umar's a little run go tell anyway. That's his MO. Oh, well, Eddie said this, like, what's your response? Oh, Frank said, like, Eddie doesn't just bring up Frank and Bob and their fighters. Like, he's asked these questions. The same with them, but the difference being that when they bring up, they seem to initiate those kind of conversations more than he does. And it's quite funny to see. It's hard for Frank to hold on to his bias when it comes to Eddie and Matchroom fighters. But I will admit, he had a couple good one-liners in his interview, especially the Umar one, when he said, you know, I had 4 cans of Furiosity, you know, Furiosity, the drink that makes you win purse bits. I mean, that was a good line. I'll give him that. He had some good zingers. But then when he started talking about the zone and Company's House and losses, I'm like, that's not really your bag there, Frank. I wouldn't be talking about that if I was you. But hey, either way, look, it's all entertaining. I just like the fact that within the circus, you get to the truth. And the ultimate truth is one of two things. Firstly, Step Aside did fall apart because Tyson Fury didn't want to fight Usyk next, or couldn't fight Usyk next. It's one or the other, because he wanted his fight in February, March, April. Then he wanted the Usyk fight. So that means that that's 2 fights that Joshua has to step aside for, and then that's 3 fights that Dillian Whyte would have to step aside for. So of course, if you're Anthony Joshua or his team, or Dillian Whyte and his team, you're gonna ask for more money because now this guy's taking another fight. What happens if he gets injured? What happens if he loses? But more than likely, let's say he would win because it wouldn't be a great opponent. Okay, what happens if he loses? What happens if he wins but he ultimately hurts himself to a point where the Usyk fight now gets pushed back and everyone's in limbo? Even, yeah, they might be able to take interim fights in the process as well, or maybe the step aside deal might mean that they don't allow them to do anything apart from just sit there and wait for Fury and Usyk to finish their business. You never know. Like, also, funny enough, in one of those interviews, Bob Arum did say that the contract was it was a dumb contract anyway. It didn't mean anything. It was talking about legally binding agreements with terms that maybe weren't advantageous to anybody. So Bob also has basically admitted that the whole step aside process in itself was a farce. It wasn't actually real, or if it was real, it wasn't to the normal levels you would expect. A bit similar with what happened with the whole arbitration. Might have been that in itself was real, but ultimately when it could have been changed, it wasn't. And if you haven't watched it, watch the Bob Arum interview on IFL TV, because I don't remember it totally off the top of my head because I watched it yesterday, but I do remember him saying basically the whole step aside deal was farcical and it didn't make any sense. But yet they're saying that it fell apart because AJ wanted more money from it. But Bob saying it wasn't really real anyway. Tyson Fury saying AJ's greedy, so I left. But Frank's also saying, well, he left it as well. So everyone basically said Tyson Fury is the reason the step aside deal didn't. He's the one who walked away from whatever deal to fight Usyk next. You got those 3 people basically confirmed it in 3 different ways. Igor Klimas confirmed it. Eddie Hearn confirmed it. So the common denominator in that whole thing is Tyson Fury wouldn't fight Usyk next. So they went all the way around the houses just to basically confirm the same thing, but they just wanted to put their own spin on it, which is cool, I suppose. But yeah, I just found that funny, so I wanted to just talk about it real quick. Probably a bit longer than I was meaning to, but that's cool. Two more things to touch on, and we're right here for today. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this one real short. I was meant to do the whole women's video. I'm still planning on doing one. I did want to have this as part of it, but as I probably won't get to do it this week now, I just want to talk about the NatashaJonas and Jackie Namath fight that's taking place on Saturday on the Khan Brook. I gotta be fair, on the pay-per-view on Sky Sports box office. Now, either Piaskowska would have been a much easier opponent for NatashaJonas. That, I'm telling you, is factual. She's taller, rangier, but she's more of a pure boxer with little to no pop. And she's not a natural 154 fighter anyway. She came from super lightweight, campaigned a bit at welter, but you know, she's never really made the limit that, you know, too tough throughout the years. So she was a much smaller girl, and obviously Tasha was a much smaller girl as well, even though Eva was bigger than Tash, but Tash was got pound for pound more power. Her power would have carried up, and she probably would have been able to she would have been able to go on the front foot and attack Eva, and probably would have got the decision in that fight. Jackie Namath is a totally different animal. Now, most of you would have never heard of her. You probably wouldn't have heard of Eva either. But from the fights I've seen of Jackie, she's a bit more crude in terms of her boxing ability. But if you had to put her into a category of people you would know, she's closer to like a Maiva Hamadouche or a Delphine Pursoon, in that she's a bit of a scrapper. Like, she's come forward, she just lets the hands go, and sort of whatever happens within that time frame. She's much more sort of that type of fighter. And if you want to compare opponents for NatashaJonas, she's a lot more Vivian Obanoff than Terry Harper. See, Terry gave Tash lots of time and to be able to implement her style. Obanoff just basically bum rushed her and got her out of her comfort zone, and obviously chin checked her several times and took her out. Now, I'm telling you, do not be surprised if Jackie Namath beats NatashaJonas on the weekend. She's also naturally a 154 fighter. So whereas Piaskowska was a smaller girl going up for the vacant title, now this girl actually campaigns in and around those weights naturally. She's bigger, she's broader. I won't say she's tougher, but like, she's definitely there to. She will crowd, she will maul, she will smother, she will use her size advantage in that fight. When it comes to the picks, I'll do analysis on the fight. But yes, you heard it here. Don't be surprised if Tash loses that. But I'll give you a firm prediction later on down the line. So I'm sure we've all watched the Gloves Are Off between Amir Khan and Kell Brook by now. And you know what? It was actually quite revealing. It was actually a pretty good one. It did peter off in certain little places. I mean, neither of them are like the most quick-witted or wittiest of characters, but there were some very interesting details in there. Now, in and amongst the YouTube world, you will see a lot of people saying, "Oh, like Khan schooled Brook, like it was embarrassing, like, you know, Brook wanted to cry, like," and you know what? Parts of it I will agree. Like, Amir Khan did a number on Kell Brook, and it is quite clear that he is in Kell's head rent free. Like, he's got a couch, he's got a bed, he's living in a studio flat up there. He's watching the TV of him assaulting Kell inside his head. Like, that's how deep ingrained in his psyche he is, and I can quite happily admit that. But people didn't see certain things that I think I saw when it came to Amir Khan. I think one of the only people that might have was Ade, because I saw a tweet of his before I came on here, where he was basically talking about the line where Kell Brook said, "You know what it's like to be knocked out, spark out on the floor." That it's gonna happen again. Amir Khan's whole demeanor shifted at that point. He came out of the character that he had put forth, you know, this cocky character, this, you know, oh, this is all fun and games, like I'm leagues above you, and you saw the armor crack at that point. So that tells you that he's nervous about that. That's one thing he doesn't want to happen. He said, "Oh, you know, I get punched in the face for a living. Yeah, I've been knocked down. Like, there's nothing you can do different." But this is different, because this is the first time this is supposed to be someone you're not supposed to lose to. Like, there's too much going on for you to lose this fight. Whether it was like a Barrera, a Maidana, a Paulie Malignaggi, a Danny Garcia, Canelo Alvarez, these people, win, lose or draw, it didn't matter, because you were chasing greatness on the road in America. Like, you was doing something epic. Now you're back in the UK facing the one person that could derail and destroy your entire legacy. Because please believe, if Kell Brook wins on the weekend, the one thing that Amir Khan had to his name as being the best in the UK is now gone. He doesn't have that again. Not to mention, the narrative will then be, you kept chasing these other fights because they were easy way out. You knew that this was going to happen. You knew Kell was gonna take your chin off, and that's not a narrative that he can let build. So even where he said Kell Brook is like, he's levels below me, like I'm taking a downward step, and Kell countered him pretty well by saying, well, if I'm so much levels below you, why are we doing this at 149? Like, why can't we do it at 154? Why can't we do it at a weight that we're both more comfortable at? You don't walk around at 147, neither do I. So if it's that easy, if the work's that easy, why have you put it down there in the contract? We all know that there's mental games going on either side, and now that in itself again puts a seed in Khan's mind, because he said, you know, well, if I'm that easy, let's just change it now. Let's do it now. Like, let's put it to a weight that's better for both of us. But Khan knows that won't be better for him. So he's trying to eke out every single advantage he can, and rightly so. He's the A side. He is the clear A side in this. Much better career overall. Fought majority on par. You would probably say he's fought more top quality opponents, although I don't know if you say he's fought the best. That's subjective. I mean, if we look at Golovkin, for instance, when Khan fought Canelo, Golovkin was seen as the killer of the division, right? So realistically, Canelo might be the bigger star now, but back then Golovkin was seen as his Achilles heel. So at that particular time, you could say that Kell did something greater to a degree. Also, if you look at that fight, Kell got the eye socket broken, but he didn't quit. The corner threw in the towel. At 160, Khan got laid out flat at 154. To a point we saw his spirit leave his body, and I don't think it wanted to come back. Now, that all being said, we saw what Amir said to Kell, when Kell said, like, he ain't never given me no credit, he's never acknowledged me, he's never given me any, he's never shown me any respect. So he's like, no, but you went on the road, you done your thing, like, well done. And at that moment, Kell's like, can I still have the same anger? He's just done the one thing that I was angry about. He's just acknowledged it on live TV. Like, what do I do? Like, they both actually hurt each other in that gloves are off. It just seems it's funnier, the Khan stuff, because it was more supposed to be witty. Like when you saw that little that evil grin that he gave, you know, when they had it on the teaser and everything, like that all looked amazing. But when you start to break down the layers, you're like, wow, there's some pain there for both. So while like Amir's got, like I said, he's got the studio flat with the bed and the couch with the feet on it, watching the TV with popcorn, watching himself annihilate Kell, all of a sudden he might have said, "Raw, I've been evicted a little bit," or maybe he's got mini Kell in his head, like he's just banging on the door, like, you're gonna have to open up sometime, like, let me in. So I'm gonna do my prediction video on Thursday, but I'm gonna wait till after the weigh-in, so I'm gonna add a bit in. So if you see, you know, the drip change, you'll know why. I'm gonna add my piece in before I give my official prediction on the fight, but it might be different to what you're expecting. I'll have to wait and see. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there for now. Thanks for watching. As always, again, like and subscribe. Do hope you enjoyed this. Probably gonna go eat some food right about now, watch some more YouTube content, some of my other favorite channels. For right now though, Hardcore Casual out.